Now bring in Joseph Abramowitz, who is the president and CEO of Energia Global Capital. Joseph, thank you so much for coming on today. It's really great to have you. Firstly, let's talk about this, the US having a huge industrial sector and being a huge contributor to global emissions. We just heard from the president there. Tell me, what are his goals going into this summit?
So, hi, Sarah, and thank you. This is probably one of the most important turning points in the history of the climate and environmental movement. It's nice that Israel is being invited, but we're out of step with the international community because the international community is very clearly saying that we need a 50%, 50 reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And right now, the Israeli government is so futuristic with hollow promises. We really want to, as the environmental movement, want to give thanks to President Biden and Vice President Harris on this. So massive reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, a ramping up of renewables, a ramping up of electric vehicles, and the pricing also on carbon. There's ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions using market forces. So the U.S. is back, and let's see if Israel will follow its lead.
And regarding Israel, what can we expect from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in his address?
Look, frankly, it's not good, but he's savvy, and he's a guy who can turn on a dime. He knows relations with Democrats and especially progressives is at an all-time low. And as of 2 days ago, if he sticks with that script, there's going to be hollow and empty promises about, big goals in 2050 without an interim goal of 50% by 2030. He is going to maintain oil and the pipelines that they're pushing forward. There's no pricing on carbon. There's no tax deduction on tax benefits for shared rooftops. He's gonna glorify our technology, which is fine, but we will end up with the lowest goals in the Western world. And what's really sad about it is that we're finally coming out of Corona, and we got to give him some credit for the vaccinations. He knows how to do things if he puts his mind to it. But you see the EU and you see the US saying, look, we need an economic empowerment plan. And Gila Gamliel, the environmental minister, has called for an Israeli Green New Deal. We don't have any hint of that at all. We're a gas monopoly country, and all the policies work against meeting the same goals that the U.S. is currently asking us to hit.
So you're saying basically just a whole lot of hot air, no pun intended. And Joseph,
it's only going to get hotter. And look, thankfully, I do want to say something good about Israel on this, and that is that it's a nonpartisan issue across the political spectrum. We care about the environment. We care about climate. The 14,000 volunteers who went to the beaches recently to clean up the oil spill, they were all different kinds of political parties and all ethnicities, and we're in this together. But we're not missing the finance. We're not missing the technology. What we're missing is the moral leadership that President Biden is asking everybody to display. And unless there's no surprises in the next 2 hours from the Prime Minister, Israel is about to fail our international obligations.
So how do you get that leadership? How do you get that moral leadership and have someone there to keep this in check?
Well, the environmental movement came out yesterday, 15 NGOs who called on all members of Knesset to vote for only a green president for the state of Israel. To let the citizen number one set the tone. That's the first thing. The second thing is the environmental movement, and I really want to call out the Strike for Climate. These are the Greta-affiliated activists are pushing very hard for a climate bill with real teeth. And so we hope that we'll have some major action on that to improve some of the proposals that are on the table. But in Israel, people vote a lot on security, and they vote on identity, and not on education, economics, or environment. But you know what? Our national security is at stake because, the Syrian missile just missed the Dimona nuclear plant the other day. And so to build these big explosive gas and oil pipelines and facilities right in our population centers is the wrong national security policy. We need renewables. In the south of Israel, we've gotten the Arava to 100% daytime solar, the first region in the world. So there's a lot of good examples coming out of here, but moral leadership is lacking, and perhaps President Biden will surprise us with Prime Minister Netanyahu. But now is the day of judgment, and if he doesn't come through, the environmental community is going to really step up our campaign for a green president and for climate law.
Well, Joseph, we really appreciate having you on a hugely important issue, and let's hope it does get resolved, or at least a little bit resolved there at this summit. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Shine on. Thank you so much.